Hey, what's up, folks? This is Granison Shines here, and welcome to another episode of the Silverton Podcast, Seduire International production. My name is Granison Shines, as I just stated, and I'm here with my co-host.
My name is Yasmin Murray. Yes, I am here ready to go with the second. Actually, this is the first of the 10-part series.
11-part series.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 11 parts, folks. Today we're introducing part one of an 11-part series. It's entitled The Leadership Path, the Essence of Greatness and Successful Leadership. Today we're going to be solely talking about foundational principles. Before we get into the meat of the situation and the heart of the content today, we're going to let you know that we have a lot of good stuff coming up. And in fact, Yasmin Murray, you have a little project that you got working, right? A book of some sort, something like that?
I certainly do, and I will share some of the excerpts from that book today.
Okay.
Be on the lookout. It's almost done, and then it's going to head over to Granison for editing. I hope it doesn't take 2 years to edit.
That's a little dig from our current book that we have out. It was supposed to be out during COVID, and we got busy. Just put it like that. We just got busy. Which is a good busy, though, because, hey, busy is always an upscale of what we're currently doing. So all good. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that. She'll be sharing some information about foundational principles. She's going to share her 5 foundational principles. I'm going to share my five foundational principles for leaders. Before we do all that, I want to make sure while you are watching this video, wherever you're watching, make sure you subscribe. Do for sure go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Seduire International, spelled all the way out, SEDUIREINTERNATIONAL. National, right?
Repeat that.
Yeah.
That was helpful.
International. I don't spell it, but I'm like, just go ahead. So Seduire International on YouTube. Make sure you also subscribe to or follow us on Spotify. We do have streaming mediums. Oh, before that, make sure. So YouTube, go to LinkedIn, follow us on LinkedIn, our LinkedIn page, linkedin.com/Seduire International there. That's you come to our company page. And then also, finally, make sure you follow us on Facebook, our Facebook page, facebook.com/Seduire International. All right, those 3 opportunities. We are going to be taking videos, information that we're currently making and have made, and we're going to put it into the short form content version as well. Short term content version on TikTok. So make sure you follow us there. It'll, of course, be in the 16:9 format. Also, Facebook and Instagram Reels. We'll be posting information there. May post some information in the stories here, but definitely on Reels. And then make sure you follow us on YouTube for the YouTube Shorts. When you follow us on YouTube, if you scroll all the way down to through all the different playlists at the bottom, you'll see our shorts, and we have several ones coming out there. Again, short-term content, taking information like this, repurposing it, and putting it out there for your listening, viewing pleasure. This medium, this platform is for leaders. If you are a leader or an aspiring leader, or you're a seasoned leader, or you are novice to veteran, it doesn't matter. This is a platform we're going to be talking about advanced leadership information, advanced communication, advanced accountability, and everything that's associated with it in terms of our program. We do have a program that is the front runner of our program. By the way, any coaching program, we'll put our coaching program toe-to-toe with any other coaching program in the marketplace right now. We are that good about our product that we have out in the marketplace. We have fantastic results, and we want to make sure that you also get involved with that. So make sure you contact us, info@seduireintl.com. Inquire about our coaching program. That's one level of service that we have here is the coaching. The other level of service that we provide, of course, is the training. So our training, the way we have had our successes, our training is oftentimes associated and supplemented with the coaching. So you get the training. You may have a 2-hour to a half day to full day training that we provide, but also to ingrain the information that we transfer over to you. We also supplement that with, and we recommend strongly supplementing that with minimum 12 weeks of coaching. In 12 weeks of coaching, we have the communication first. We have 12 weeks of communication, 24 weeks of leadership, and 12 weeks of accountability for a total of 48-week program. All the organizations that integrate with us and our services, they all go through this coaching program. I would say 97% of them. So not all, 97% of them will incorporate the coaching program. If they're not, I guarantee you that they will. So 100% of them usually go through it, even if they are at training right now. And then finally, of course, the consulting services. We do consult with organizations because communication is all about how you communicate and talk, because leadership is all about how you communicate and talk, and because accountability is all about how you communicate and talk. We also consult with organizations on how do you permeate all these principles down throughout your organization, from the top all the way down. That's really important, especially if you want to evolve your culture. When you evolve the culture, everyone has to be involved with the primary factors. I say the primary benefactors, or the people who are responsible, 100% responsible, are the leaders at the C-suite level, right? Driving it all the way down. Yes, want to add something? You are muted and no one can hear you.
Sorry, I have dogs that bark, so I have to mute. What I was going to add was that leadership is not about egos. So you have to bury your egos or ego in order to be a good leader.
Sure. And that comes with understanding that we will guide you. We have not, and knock on whatever you want to call it, we have not had a successful implementation fail. We've had any implementations fail, especially when it involves our consulting side of the business, coaching side too, but the consulting side, and making sure we have that communication plan that trickles down throughout the organization. Of all the ones we've launched, we have had none of them fail. It always works out. It always involves the organization's culture in terms of accountability. Make sure accountability, we'll go into right now, but positive, negative side of accountability. We definitely permeate that and teach that within our organization. That being said, we have other online courses that we'll be launching throughout the year, other online classes, because people are really knocking at the door. We say, okay, let's release some of this information in a bite by bite chunk format that's very palatable for those who come into the organization or integrate with our organization. 6 weeks, some courses, 12 weeks for some courses, 1 day a week, 2 day a week for some other courses, and a myriad of opportunities in between there. So we have a plethora of information coming down the pipe for your viewing pleasure, not only your viewing pleasure, but for your career enhancement involvement.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that. We're going to continue to launch these programs and continue to disseminate content, put out content on all these different platforms that I mentioned. But do make sure you follow us also on Spotify. So we have this turned into an audio format for platforms. But even though Spotify now can show video podcasts, you can go there and actually see this podcast later on as once we're done live broadcasting it and we publish it. But you'll also be able to get audio content from Spotify. Follow us there. Follow us on iTunes. We are on iTunes, so you can get to our podcast there. Just search for Seduire International. We are also on Amazon Music. Go to the podcast section, type in Seduire International. Guess what? Boom, we'll pop up. Follow us there.
And
wherever you listen.
Yeah.
Say again?
I said, and we sing. I'm just kidding.
Oh, she sings. I sing so low. So low you can't hear me. That's how I sing, right? Also, Google Podcasts and Stitcher. So wherever you like to get your content from your streaming pleasures or some streaming format, make sure you find us there, and we are there. All right. Let's get into the meat of the situation. All right. So let's get going on part one, the essence, I should say, the leadership path, the essence of greatness in terms of how leaders can become extremely successful. So let's start off by getting the information on what we call the foundational principles. So we're going to read that. We're going to talk about that. But before I read it, before I go into that, Yasmin, when you hear the words foundational principles, what comes to mind?
The basics of what a leader is made of. You know, the first layer when you have a house that you're building, so that base foundation.
Yep.
That is what I think of.
Absolutely. And for those of you who can see the graph, you can see that foundational principles is right there at the bottom, all the way there, the first color inside the triangle. So for those of you who are looking at the graphic that we're showing right now, if you're watching a video podcast, we have this triangle. For those of you who are listening by audio, have this triangle. And in the triangle, there are, excuse me, 8 different colors, the spectrum of colors. And the bottom one, that's where we're starting, is the foundation, because you always have to lay the foundation first. And any opportunity that you're going to be embarking upon, it behooves us to understand what the foundational principles are. And so from my aspect, the foundational principles involve I want to say rudimentary, but it's not the right word, because sometimes baseline foundational principles can involve some complexity. The baseline principles are information that you acquire, especially before you become a leader, especially when you are a follower. Okay, so I always say this: you have to be a great follower first in order to be a great leader. You have to know how to follow, because you have to understand when people get out of line and what that looks like, and why, and how we have to push them back into alignment, tap them on the left shoulder, tap them on the right shoulder, so they can go straight down the straight and narrow. So foundational principles are those foundational principles that we learn. Some of them we accept when we're getting information from our bosses, our coaches, our mentors. Some of them we reject. However, those foundational principles become who you are as a leader, and they are carried across your leadership styles and different opportunities wherever you are. So those foundational principles are extremely important for you to grasp a hold of, understand. And I would say that most people, if you agree with me, Yasmin, on this one, most people have the foundational principles to a mastery level, per se. Sometimes, yes. Yeah. I look at it like this: you should have those foundational principles. They should be, everything else should lay on top of those foundational principles. So therefore, mastery does come into play, or at least a profound level, an intricate level of competency in each of those foundational principles. And there are a myriad of 5 foundational principles. I'm going to give you 5. Yasmin is going to share 5 with you later. So let me read what we have here for foundational principles. Foundational principles refer to the fundamental beliefs or assumptions that form the basis for a person, a system, theory, or organization. We're talking about individuals and organizations, so that's where our conversation is going to really stem from. They are the core concepts that guide the actions, the decisions of an individual or entity, and it shapes its overall direction and purpose. Well, get me started on purpose, because everyone should know their purpose. That's a whole different conversation that we're talking about today. But everyone should know their purpose. Examples of foundational principles include things like fairness, respect, honesty, integrity, and accountability. All the things that we should associate no matter who we're talking to. These foundational principles should be in operation. So there are times when we ask in the coaching program, can you treat everyone the same? 85% of my coaches, you chime into Yasmin, 85% of my coaches say no, you can't treat everyone the same. What about you when you ask that question? You're muted.
You can just look at me and pretend what I'm saying. But anyway, I wouldn't say it's 80% with my coaches. I would say it's more like 60%. They do believe that they treat people equally. But when we start the discussion, then they start to dwindle.
Okay. I think that you can treat and you should treat everyone the same, meaning that those foundational principles, fairness, respect, kindness, right? Those foundational principles balance out. Those should be behaviors and or actions that we should take with everybody. It doesn't matter who they are. Everyone gets the same opportunity from the foundational standpoint aspect of it. Continuing on, these principles can be used to guide the development of policies. So when you have policies in your organization, they can include some of those bits and pieces of information. Procedures, same thing there. And practices within the organizations can be included in some of your processes as well there. And here's the final piece of the component. They also serve as the foundation for decision making and problem solving. Decision making and problem solving. So foundational principles are extremely important. And they shouldn't be as volatile. They should be very, very static, for the word that I'm going to appropriate here over everything. Foundational principles, again, should be something that you lay down and people will just incorporate the conversation, or they've incorporated with that in terms of conversation. Now, question becomes, can you have foundational principles in leadership, right? That what we're talking about. Can you have foundational principles in accountability? Can you have foundational principles in self-awareness? That's a huge topic. Can you have foundational principles in human nature? Can you have foundational principles when you're dealing with the heart? And I say yes. So if you look at this graphic here, so foundational principles can be in each one of the other colors and even outside the triangle. So you can have foundational principles in acceptance, foundational principles in energy, foundational principles in community, and how you move around that community, your milieu, your department, social aspects. Can you have foundational principles when dealing with accountability? Absolutely. So if you look at this graphic and you look at it as the color spectrum is actually 11 parts there that you see. But as far as if you paired each one of these words up with one of the other ones, so acceptance in the heart, acceptance in human nature, acceptance in community, you have 121 different combinations now that you can apply to your leadership prowess. So in this simple graphic, a simple triangle with different colors, 11 different phrases and words, you have 121 different combinations that we as leaders should be able to understand intimately. So foundational principles, we're going to go there first.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Oh, no, I said and apply them to be effective. Yes.
All right, so let's do this. Let's talk about the 5 foundational principles. We'll go with Yasmin first, then we'll come to my 5 foundational principles. We'll wrap it up, and then we will make sure that we accentuate how this can be carried over into your leadership position, your leadership prowess, your leadership skill set, everything else pertaining to you and just leader. Remember, we're just incorporating and pushing this into the leadership perspective. However, this triangle here and these foundational principles can be universal over your whole entire life. Okay, so it's much more applicable from a totality standpoint for you as an individual. But we're going to take one component and just center it in, focusing on one component. That's just your leadership prowess. All right, Yasmin, what do you got there? So point number 1 for you would be what?
All right. First of all, the excerpts are from the book, like I said. It is for new and emerging leaders. Once somebody gets promoted, the very first thing they do is, what do I do? Leadership doesn't come with a guide. No. Here, you're a new leader, you got promoted. Go do what you always do. Well, what do I do? I just do what I know how to do. But now you have to manage people. Yeah. You are not just independent by yourself. Now you have to be a supervisor, manage maybe from 5 up to 20, 30, 40, 50 people. Hopefully they're not going to give you 50 people right off the bat. You might.
And leadership isn't easy, folks. I want to say this before she gets started. Leadership is not easy. It's not easy. Like I said, it doesn't come with a handbook, even though we have coaching and we do have handbooks in our coaching program or workbooks as well. But leadership isn't easy. And it's not, if you operate by foundational principles, that's the only thing that's one size fit all. Okay, it's the only thing. Everything else become very, very nuanced and very particular for the individual when you get down to that level. Exactly.
Very situational. It's not a cookie cutter. So in this book, I have added some examples from my experiences and then from my research. So what I have is actually 11 principles, not principles, but skills that you need as a manager or a leader who just got promoted into a supervisory role. Number one, basic principle is communication. Like Granison says, just because you know how to talk, that does not mean you know how to communicate.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, communication is an essential skill for success in any field and are particularly important for leaders. Effective communication can foster positive work environment, build trust and credibility with the team members, and help to achieve organizational goals. One of the most important aspects of communication for leaders is the ability to clearly and effectively convey information to the team members. Now, this includes being able to articulate goals, strategies, and expectations in a way that is easily understood. That's just the summary of communication. And there's so much more that goes into communication. If you join one of our programs, we talk about the 15 C's of communication. Communication itself is also not an easy skill. You have to learn to communicate effectively.
Yeah, it's not easy to learn how to communicate and intentionally and strategically understanding how to communicate. That's the tough part about it.
Mm-hmm.
How to be very articulate in that.
I mean, we have what, 12 weeks of communication that we coach?
12 weeks. And we got a lot more. That's just 12 short weeks of communication, understanding communication skills.
Yes, communication skills. The second skill that I selected was decision making. Effective leaders are able to make decisions quickly and confidently, balancing the needs and the concerns of their team with the goals of the organization. They also understand the potential consequences of their decisions and are able to adapt as necessary. They can pivot. If something goes wrong, they know where to change. They are also able to involve their team in decision making, because what happens when you make the team part of your decision making? They are more involved.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
They have a buy-in and they're apt to work harder. Overall decision making is an essential skill for leaders to possess in order to effectively guide their team and organization towards success. Now, decision making is vital leadership skill that allows to guide not only your team, but also involve others who might be part of the decision making in the organization. Effective leaders possess the ability to make decisions quickly, like I said, confidently, balancing the needs and concerns of their team with the goals of the organization. They understand the potential consequences of their decisions and are able to adapt as necessary. That too, decision making is not easy. What happens if you make a wrong decision? Are you just going to sit there and ponder as to what do I need to do next? As a leader, you should be able to, like I said earlier, pivot, change the direction, make another decision quickly so that there is no downtime.
That's one of those skills that people they get afraid and they just freeze up and they don't make a decision at all.
They do.
Make the wrong decision.
Yeah, and you know what? Any decision you make as a leader, and especially as a new leader, remember 50% of the decisions you're going to make might be wrong. But that doesn't mean you can't fix it. Every decision can be fixed. Unless it's life and death. Can't fix that. Now that leads into decision making, also comes from strategic thinking. My number third is strategic thinking. It allows the leader to think critically and creatively about the future of their organization. It enables leaders to identify and plan for long-term opportunities and challenges, while also considering the potential impact of their decisions on the organization's overall goals. Effective strategic thinking is essential for success in today's rapidly changing business environment. It allows leaders to identify the organization's strengths and weaknesses, as well as external factors that may impact the organization. A lot of leaders don't even think about, hey, what are my strengths as a company? What are my weaknesses? If you sit there and strategically think, you will find them out. They can develop a plan to capitalize on opportunities, mitigate risks, and capitalize on strengths. This is particularly important in today's rapidly changing business environment where leaders must be able to anticipate and respond to changes in the market, industry, and external environment by being proactive instead of reactive. And most of the leaders I've seen are very reactive. Have you seen that too, Granison? They
Yep,
only
absolutely.
react when something comes up.
Yep, yep.
Leaders can ensure that their organization remains competitive and relevant if they're quick decision makers and critical thinkers. Now, my fourth fundamental skill set is emotional intelligence, EI.
Yep, that's the big one. Yep.
Why is that a big one? Well, this can help our leaders to build stronger relationships, which is what it's all about. People don't work for companies, people work for people. People, remember that, embed that in your head. You take care of your people, they will take care of you.
Yep, absolutely.
So this can help them build stronger relationships with their team members, communicate more effectively, and make better decisions. Sorry for my dog barking. Additionally, leaders with high emotional intelligence tend to be more resilient and adaptable, which can be valuable in the constantly changing business environment. Now, by emotional intelligence, I don't mean that you should cry when somebody else cries and laugh when somebody else laughs because you're in tune to their emotions. It is just being able to understand them. Now, EI refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions as well as the emotions of others. It encompasses several key competencies such as self awareness, self regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And when you come and join our program, our 8 modalities, out of the 8 modalities, at least 4 of them touch on these skill sets. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
The last one I have is problem solving, which is also a crucial leadership skill that allows individuals to effectively navigate through challenges and make sound decisions. It involves identifying a problem, analyzing it, and coming up with a solution. Strong problem solving skills can help leaders to make better decisions, improve efficiency, and drive success in their organizations. Now, one of the main reasons why problem solving is important for leaders is that it allows them to make better decisions. Effective problem solving involves gathering and analyzing data, so you have to be good in research, considering multiple options and weighing the pros and cons of each potential solution. This process helps leaders to make informed decisions that are based on facts rather than intuition or assumptions. This can lead to better outcomes and increased success for the organization. Those are my 5, Granison.
All right. So thank you very much for those 5 foundational principles by Yasmin Murray. Now, remember, foundational principles show up in a myriad of different ways. These are her top 5. I'm going to tell you my top 5. But these aren't the only foundational principles that you should incorporate. Foundational principles will incorporate a myriad of other opportunities not spoken in this particular podcast. We can get to them, some of those. We actually do cover a lot of those in the program, in our coaching program and training. But as far as level of importance and things that you can immediately institute, listen to what she's saying right there. Now, I'm going to share my 5. Okay, you ready? All right, grab a pen, paper, write these down as well. All right, 5 foundational principles by which leaders should lead. You better be leading by these. Okay, number 1, Leaders should fully understand balance and how it affects everything. Balance. We have one modality in our program, talks about the 5 essential factors of balance. The 8 different modalities, talk about that in a minute. But that one opportunity to understand balance is extremely important. Now, you can look all around your environment. You can see all types of opportunities and things that are balanced. Your car, your chair, your desk, your light stand, your computer stands, if you have those, the bed, whatever, your chairs, a mirror, tables. I can go on and on and on and on. Balance is everywhere. Now, you can take that and utilize that from a leadership standpoint metaphorically, and you can also utilize it in terms of how you should be interacting with people. Okay, so it's both sides, 2 sides of the coin there. So what I mean by metaphorically, meaning that from a metaphorically standpoint, we talk about one of the pillars of the 5 essential factors of balance is being self-centered. Making sure that you have what they call the center of gravity. Center of gravity. Everything that balances, like Yasmin just balanced the pen on her finger, has a center of gravity. That center point right there is where the balance point is, so you can release that particular opportunity. It'll stand on its foundation, however wide it is for that particular pen, and it'll be completely balanced on her finger. She doesn't have to monitor it with the other finger. It can sit around on her finger, and there you have it. From a metaphorical standpoint, we also want to think that a leader should also have a center of gravity. It should be grounded, center of gravity, in understanding that they're not so heavenly minded that no earthly good, as one opportunity says, the old adage goes. Meaning that you're not really talking about pie in the sky stuff, but also you're not talking so low and rudimentary. You can talk at the level where everyone can understand you. That's being centered in your emotions. This is actually in terms of application, being centered in your emotions, not being overly emotional, not being under emotional, but also making sure you have the right level of stoicism operating, but also incorporating that into emotional intelligence, being very balanced in your emotions. So you have balance there, very centered, very, very much so prowess in how you utilize balance. So I would say, as Yasmin said about research, go do your research on balance. Understand balance to the nth degree. Understanding balance will provide a myriad of opportunities that you might not see at the moment. But because you have a different mindset, you have a mind shift, you do some brain hacks, some mind hacks, and you can become very balanced in how you operate and interact with people. And remember, leadership is all about being balanced. It's all about having relationships. It's all about extending outside of yourself. Again, balance. The balance here for a leader is, yes, I have to be all about me, but I also have to be all about the other people, the people that I'm leading. So I have to be about me so I can be the best me working out, looking nice, feeling good, so I can lead everyone else around me better and interact with them better. So that's the balance portion of it. Understanding that leadership this is the one thing that is innate in you that we often have to ignite in the program, is that self-centeredness, meaning that being self-aware of what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you're not doing, as a matter of fact, and making sure you have balance there. We talk about work-life balance as well. So balance is in everything that you do. You can't work 100% of the time. You got to tend to personal family matters as well, and people that you care about. You can't just have a job and only focus on the people you care about. You have to actually balance it out and go in and spend time at work. It has to be balanced. So balance is in every single thing. It's extremely important to understand how balance works. So that's my point of view.
Or create what is that, Megan, the movie we saw? To balance, I want to work. Now the kid is left alone.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Now you create a robot to balance its life.
AI, it's here to stay, right?
It's crazy.
Number 2 is the 8 modalities and their integration in personal and professional areas. Kind of alluded to that initially when we talk about balance. We have 8 different modalities. Let me show you the graphic here. 8 different modalities in our program. And when we talk about these modalities, the modalities are on the outside here. So we have the center graphic being the foundation of the principles. We get to go through all of these here. So we have the 5 essential factors of balance, modality number 1. That's way over here. We have 5 parts of the self. Then we have the 5 parts of the authentic self. We have the 5 senses of the body, 9 types of nonverbal communication, 5 essential factors of balance, 5 levels of thinking, 6 principles of mastery, and 6 strategies of execution. When you have all of that operating into one, and again, all of these are very, very pertinent for being a great leader. There's no way to separate you and your communication, leadership, accountability from those 8 modalities. There's no way. It's impossible. In fact, every one of those words, you have it in your vocabulary. The difference is how we arrange them and how we teach them in our program so that it sticks and it has TOMA, top of mind awareness. So the foundational principles continue to operate in the aspect of understanding how the 8 modalities are integrated into your personal and professional life. All right. Point number 3. Prioritize developing solid relationships. Remember, these are all foundational principles that leaders should abide by. You do want to prioritize developing sound and good, tight relationships. Now, why do you need that? Remember, Yasmin said that people work for people. Yes, the organization pays your salary, your check, whatever, gives you a check every week or every other week. However, people work for people. That's why if you have those solid relationships and you have an opportunity at XYZ company up the street, most likely, if you have solid relationships, because you have the relationship with those people, you can say, hey, Yasmin, I'm going to be going over here. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to go over here. Why don't you come over here with me and work with me at this particular place? And people, guess what? They leave. They go follow the other people. They follow the other person because they have such a solid relationship. And in fact, if not done carefully, it could be, and if you take too many people, that's what they call the corporate rating aspect of things. Taking so many people from the organization that the key people are left with, or the organization, I should say, is left with holes in their key position. So solid relationships are foundational. Learn how to develop the relationships. Understand how the wide and shallow talk and the narrow and deep conversations integrate into your solid relationships. For every organization, when we get to the part of advanced leadership, and we're talking about creating high-performing teams, high-value teams, one of the aspects, so there's a graphic that we have, and there are 6 points outside of the graphic, and then there's some other information inside the graphic. One of the 6 points on the outside is solid relationships. Solid relationship. When I say solid, those tight-knit relationships. And I'm not saying you have to be friends and hanging out with the people in person every weekend, but understanding how those relationships can benefit the organization and your department at a micro level, to where people now have an opportunity to really shine, and so do you, by way of having those solid relationships. So that's point number 3. Point number 4, prioritize continuous skill set development. Okay, this is the foundational principle. This is something you can take into any other area in life. You prioritize continuous skill set development. What skill sets am I talking about? For leadership, communication being number 1. We have found that as leaders ascend in the organizations, they have more opportunities to present and more information. And so having your public speaking skills is also very essential. We understand that as you grow up in leadership, you have more influence. So you have more influence with superiors, more influence with colleagues and peers, and more influence with subordinates. So having those interpersonal skills is also another essential skill set. And then you should be refining those, testing those in the marketplace or in your social areas, your professional areas, testing them. So put yourself in a continuous learning environment, which also incorporates coaching, training, understanding how to utilize those skill sets more so and get better, and taking that information that you have in your head now and pushing it down towards your subordinates in the organization as well, putting them also in a continuous learning environment so that they can continue to increase in their skill set. So that's point number 4 on my side. Point number 5, my final point, then we'll wrap this up, is accept that you're creating and have created a professional brand. Let me start over that. Accept the fact that you are creating and that you have created a professional brand, either by default or intention. Either way, you have a brand. I know you heard that old adage, when someone meets you, if they ever have said this, that means you have a reputation of some sort, good or bad. Oh, your reputation precedes you. Or someone meets you and says, oh yeah, I heard a lot about you. And sometimes we joke and say, oh, I heard it was all good. Or don't believe the bad things, whatever it is. We have some little joke around it. That's because you have created a brand. And that brand, guess what? It's far beyond you. It's far beyond your current place of being. Other people who don't even know you, who not had the opportunity to associate themselves with you yet, know about your brand. It's that powerful. The things that you do and say make an impression, creates a perception, make sure that comes around, and next thing you know, you have this reputation about you, and it could be good or bad. But I encourage all leaders to really focus on your brand, because you have a brand either by default, meaning that you have not paid attention to how you conduct yourself, you have not paid attention or strategically paid attention and deliberately, intentionally do certain things in order to have certain conduct. Those leaders who have this etched in their mind, they really focus on being very intentional, very strategic, and very diplomatic and intentional about what they say and what they do. You have created your brand to other people by your verbal and nonverbal communication. Guarantee it. Things you have said or not said, things you have done and not done. People see that. So having that, again, focused in an opportunity, I'll repeat the 5 right quick, and then we'll wrap it up. But making sure that you focus on that. So again, number 1, leaders should fully understand balance, how it's in everything. Number 2, 8 modalities and integration in the personal and professional areas. Number 3, prioritize relationships. Number 4, prioritize continuous learning environment. Number 5, accept the fact that you have created and that you are continuing to create a leadership brand. And that brand, once you get it real tight, once you shape it and mold it the way you want, it should be protected just like you protect your kid. It should be protected like you would protect your own self. That's how important your brand is. So that's it, folks. That's what we have for today. Do leave a comment and make sure you give us some feedback on what that looks like for you, what other points and information that you've taken from our conversation, and how you can utilize that into your workplace environment going forward. Yes, Yasmin.
I want to add a parting comment, is
Sure.
that leaders live in a glass bowl. Everyone, all eyes on you. As a leader, your peers are looking at you, your subordinates are looking at you, your bosses are looking at you. Everything you do and say is being scrutinized to the nth degree.
I'm going to leave it right there, because that is absolutely 100% true. People see you above, people see you below, people see you on either side. That means your whole environment, your whole department, and outside your department, guess what? You are operating in your foundational principles, and people see that and they tap into that. All right, folks, I'm Granison Shines here with
Yasmin Marie. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn. Our page is there. Connect with us personally as well, so that we can extend more information to you when we push it out there. Stay tuned for more information. Next week, we'll be back with part 2. We're going to talk about awareness. More importantly, your self-awareness, other awareness, and situation awareness, and how that is coalesced into the leadership opportunity you have right now. All right, folks. Talk to you later. I'm Granison Shine signing out. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.